Hi everyone, Rachael here. Welcome to episode number 36 of the Ditch the Diet podcast. In today's episode, I am talking to Nisha, Purewal and Steph Dekker from CrossFit Fortius Cambuslang. Now, Steph and Nisha are actually my coaches at the gym that I attend in Glasgow, but they are also CrossFit athletes as well. And I wanted to talk to them because their training is ferocious most of the time. And these girls are an inspiration when it comes to achieving grand goals. So I wanted to speak to them about what motivates them in their lives when it comes to both their training, nutrition and any other goals that they have. And we talk about everything from what a typical day looks like for them to posing them the question of what can I do if I don't feel motivated. This is a great conversation. I really hope you enjoy it. I'm just going to get straight in about it now, and I'll be back at the end to tell you how you can find out more. Enjoy. So before we even get started with asking any questions, I thought I would just go for the first one, which is tell me a little bit about you. So let's start with you, Nisha. Tell me a little bit about you for the listeners that don't have a clue who you are. Who are you? What do you do? Let's go for it.
Okay. Well, my name's Nisha, as you've announced, and I'm a CrossFit coach, part owner of CrossFit Fortius Cambuslang with Steph Dekker. I got into fitness about 7 or 8 years ago, like properly, doing like just training CrossFit. Eventually did my level 1 and my personal training level 3 so that I could start coaching and quit my mundane day job that I didn't like. It was more like a night job. It was in a restaurant.
Okay.
And then just started this kind of journey, started by taking PT and then helping out with the fundamentals at CrossFit Glasgow, where I started coaching CrossFit, and then just kind of progressed from there into coaching. Well, we've been in the States, we've been just about all over Scotland, and now we've got our own box. So that's a bit about me. When I started fitness, I was a bit overweight, so my journey's a bit different to how Steph started hers. Mine was to lose a bit of weight and get fit for my grad ball, and it's kind of just expanded from there. And Steph's was a little bit different. So
okay, we'll talk about that in a second. Let's get Steph's outlook on this. Tell me a little bit about you, Steph, what you do now, and how you got into doing it. Just the brief version, and then we'll go into the long version.
Yep. So same as Nisha. Recently, I've been a coach, head coach at CrossFit Fortius Cambuslang. Obviously, part on that with Nisha as well. I got into CrossFit a kind of a similar time to Nisha. I think I was a little bit ahead of her. Again, like she kind of touched upon very different reasons of how and why I got into it. And actually, funnily enough, I was a bit of a CrossFit hater. I actually started doing it. But fitness has been a big part of my life in lots of different ways for a really, really long time. So it was probably only a matter of time before I found kind of CrossFit within that. But yeah, very, very different journeys, the two of us, I think, towards ending up at the same place.
Okay. So Nisha, can we have a chat about your background? So you said you've not always been into CrossFit. It was something that you got into, did you say, when you were trying to lose weight for your grad ball? Was that right?
Yeah, so I've always kind of been into a bit of sport. I played basketball for Scotland up until I was like under 16 and under 18 level. Okay. And then when I started uni, I kind of fell away from sport. I always tried to keep quite fit. I played a lower level basketball after that, but nothing quite as intense as what I had done. But in uni, obviously, not even so much going out all the time. I've never really been much of a massive drinker, but I think when I get bored or when I'm a bit stressed, I used to like stress eat and I put on a bunch of weight, and I ended up quite heavy, and I saw a picture of myself next to two of my friends, and I was like, Jesus, I need to sort that out. And I got in touch with one of my brother's friends who was a personal trainer who actually coached CrossFit, Tino Marini, who's over in the States now, one of the head coaches at CrossFit Invictus. And he put me basically through some CrossFit sessions on a one-to-one. And I said that I wasn't going to get hooked. I said that I'm not falling into this cult thing. And here we are.
Sounds kind of similar to me, actually.
Illuminati.
Yeah.
And what about you, Steph? What's your background? That you said it's completely different to Nisha's. So what's different about it?
I think everything about how I got into fitness, especially as a female, is a very unheard of story. So where I got into fitness, every time I talk about this story, I feel like I expose myself as a bit of a nut job. But let's do it anyway. So I got into fitness very, very young, like I would say probably about maybe 5 or 6, and I was totally inspired by watching strongmen. Okay. On a television, I remember watching World's Strongest Man. I remember calling my mum through the living room. I'm like, "You seeing this? Look at the weights these guys are lifting. Look, this is incredible." And obviously, she's like, "You're strange." I was like, yeah, cool. Let's split the channel. Let's watch some Judge Judy or something like that. But I was just so taken aback by it. I thought it was so cool, and I was so amazed that nobody else thought it was really amazing. And I remember at that sort of age, even just picking up big rocks and trying to chuck them, like they were doing on the TV, and just from there even started just doing a bit of fitness in my room by myself as a child, press ups, sit ups, just the stuff that you see on TV that people do to get fit and to get in shape. And I remember thinking, I want to be the world's strongest man. Halfway there. So that was my journey into fitness, and ever since then I kind of kept it up. An example of that was on, I think it was my 10th or 11th birthday. My mum finally let me spend my birthday money on a weight set. I bought a set of dumbbells, and I also bought a bodybuilding book. I started training, doing some of the sessions that were in this book in my room by myself after school. That's amazing. And then what was it? The first kind of structured fitness I was ever into was the taekwondo. Very young, but I remember I wasn't as into that because it was too much of you had to learn a lot of these things called patterns, and you got judged on it. I felt like there wasn't enough physicality. Yeah. So I didn't let the kids fight each other, and all I wanted to do was fight the other kids. Then funnily enough, the next thing I kind of really got into was fighting. I did Muay Thai for quite a few years, but kind of fell out of love with that in the sense that I actually found it a bit difficult to want to fight people. I just enjoyed the training side of it. Right. Yeah. And then that's when, clearly from there, CrossFit became quite attractive to try. But I remember already having this opinion of it, just being because I was a big reader of Muscle and Fitness. And in the beginning, that was when CrossFit started to emerge, it was look at this silly nonsense all these arseholes over in the States are doing. Yeah. And their galleries and all this. It's nonsense, and it just, to me, I thought it was loads of kettlebell swings and burpees and too much cardio for my liking. But the first night I would get dragged along to a CrossFit gym, it was back squats. And I remember getting told, that's wrong, if you did it this way it'd be so much better, and took the weight down that was on my bar, and they basically just kind of made me lose the ego about the way I'd been lifting previously, and I loved that about it. I thought, here's a sport that I can do that's going to really give me proper guidance, proper structure, and I'll be able to do the things that I really have been trying to do my entire life up until now. So, Nisha, there are going to be a lot of people listening to this podcast that have absolutely no idea what CrossFit is. So can you give us a quick rundown before we continue?
Do you want the definition as quoted by the Level 1 handbook?
Let's have the handbook definition first, and then the Nisha version after that.
Okay, CrossFit is defined as constantly varied functional fitness executed at a high intensity. So if we take the constantly varied, I think of a variety box of sweeties. Everything's a bit different. So when you're coming in to do your classes, it's always different, but it's never random. There should always be like a structure. So we're never going to hammer your legs on a Monday, then a Tuesday and a Wednesday and leave you not being able to walk coming into the weekend. Sometimes that happens, but not all the time. Functional movements. So we're talking about things that should translate over to everyday life. So like squatting is like you sit down, you stand up, deadlifting, picking things up safely. We look at moving our own body weight through gymnastics, and we do a fair amount of conditioning and high intensity. As it sounds, you're looking to push your intensity, but we work to something called an intensity threshold. So we try to make sure that you move as hard as you can, or put in as much effort as you can, but while still moving as safely as you can, so that you're never at risk of hurting yourself.
Okay, that sounds good. I thought you were going to bring up the fact that I nearly died this morning. Push yourself to intensity, but don't overdo it like I did this morning. So I want to talk about this series of the podcast is about motivation, because it's a question that I get asked a lot about. How do I get motivated if I don't feel motivated? Where does motivation come from? That would be the gym doggies. Are they going mad? That's quite all right. So how do you go about setting goals for yourself, Steph? Let's go to you first. How do you go about setting goals for yourself, and what are your goals at the moment?
How do you go about setting goals for yourself, and what are your goals?
Sorry, I was just tending to the dogs.
That's alright.
The customer has died.
The tame dog.
I go to setting goals.
How do you go about setting goals for yourself, and what are your goals at the moment?
Okay, so that's actually an interesting question. So normally, how I'll set goals, previously up until maybe only a matter of months ago, my goal setting would have been along the lines of when I finish a training diary, a training book. The first page of that book would always have my goals for that, maybe usually like 3-month period, something like that. And so I'd have them written, so each day that I open the book, the goals are there to see and just remind me of what it was I wanted to get. So it would normally have been things like, let's say I was starting with like a 140 back squat. By the time I finish this book, I want that to be 142.5. That's an example. There could be lots of other things that maybe relate to CrossFit written on the front there. But what I started to realise, like the longer I did that for, was that, sometimes there's certain goals that aren't really within your control, in the sense that you can do everything you think you should be doing in order to achieve that goal, but you don't get it. And then what you sometimes fall into is a pattern of, I've not achieved that goal, I've hit failure somewhere, that's my fault, or, it becomes a negative thing when really the positive goal setting was meant to be a positive thing. So recently what I've done is I don't actually set goals in terms of I want to lift this weight or I want to hit this kind of personal best or target. For me, it's become more about just feeling like because at the end of the day, I got into fitness because it was something I was just driven towards. It's like, I've been doing it so long that it's something that's part of who I am. And so for me, it's just about getting that fulfillment from it. And every day just doing something that I feel makes me better, even if it's not going to be reflected in a number. So recently I haven't actually set goals in like very, very structured goals in that sense, but it's just doing something to be better every day. And it's become that simple by this point for me.
Yeah. What about you, Nisha?
Quite similar to Steph. Whenever I start a new training diary, I put a list of goals at the start of it, and those goals for me, I vary between like putting up strength numbers or gymnastic figures, and then I tend to put some mindset stuff in the front of my book. So, but again, similar to Steph, I've kind of come away from using like specific numbers to define me. And be putting things like, for cleans, I want to be hitting like 85 to 90% of my clean consistently, rather than being like, I want to hit over 100 kilos on a clean. Or like for the mindset ones, I give myself like words that kind of I used to be quite bad for talking myself out of like big lifts or gymnastic things that I found that to be quite challenging, and I would talk myself out of it and quite often tell myself, oh, I can't do this, or I can only do it in like sets of 2 or 3, so I'll just chip away at this workout. Whereas like at the front of my book, I put in like talk yourself into workouts. So before you're starting, like give it everything you've got, and don't let that wee voice in your head tell you that you can't, basically. So yeah, that's kind of how I go about setting my goals. Although I do have a pretty big goal at the moment of making regionals next year, so that's maybe one that's a like definite.
Yeah, I've got that written down to ask you about in a second, actually. But you both spoke about the same thing there, and I want to ask you about that. You both spoke about keeping a training diary. Is that something you've always done, and what exactly goes into that?
Do you want to go first?
Yeah. So I've pretty much kept a training diary since I started doing the CrossFit stuff. Not so much when I played basketball. They were always structured training sessions with a team. I notice when I'm really religious with my training diary and write down like my times, my numbers, how I split my reps up, how a workout felt, that's usually when my training's at its best. When I look back through my training diaries and I look and I've just seen like a time, or I've maybe just like put a wee scribble next to something, I've been like, oh, I was obviously not feeling really good during my training at that point and I didn't want to keep a note of it. So that's maybe another thing. Like I've tried to improve in my training, or improve myself this year. I started making sure every day I write something down in my diary, even if I've not had a good training session. I'll put down, could have been better on this, and I try and take something away from it every time, if that makes sense. So I'll try and use my diary to almost like a journal, version of a journal, and I'll always try and take something away every session rather than it being just a case of writing down numbers and weights. I'll try and write down how a workout felt or how I broke it up and what I could do to improve. Yeah, so tracking your progress, would you say, is a really important thing when it comes to the goals that you have? It helps you when you can look back at like an old training diary and see, like if you're having a really frustrating time in your training or you're struggling a bit and you look back to maybe 4 or 5 months ago and you see just how far you've come, like it gives you that wee boost to kind of be like, oh, okay, no, actually this is working. Like even if this week has been a bit slower, like stuff's still working. That's why it's important to do like tests and retests of workouts, and why CrossFit's quite good for that. Okay. Sounds good.
Yeah, I would agree with that in the sense, I think that if you're average person coming in training, that's something we say to people when they come in the doors here pretty much straight off the bat is, get a training book and start recording stuff. Because especially doing a sport like CrossFit, because there is so much, you can sometimes just look at how far you've got to go and see how far you've come. But the training book will tell you that, because sometimes people are bad for remembering numbers of like, was it 32 kilos that I lifted or was it 42? Whereas, 32 kilos and 40, that's like a 30% difference. Yeah. That's a math. So if you can't remember if it was 32 or 42, you could be 30% better and not be aware of it. So as coaches, for us, it really helps as well to give people if people know what they lift on a consistent basis, it helps us make sure they're getting the right intensity for a workout. Yeah. But for me these days, I still write everything down. I can go back through my training diaries as far as, I think I'm all the way back to 2006. Wow. When I was just like doing bicep curls and shoulder press. But I jot it down now more out of habit rather than actually using it for it's a bit different. I'm a bit different from Nisha, where I've kind of achieved most of the things I wanted to get out of sport. Whereas Nisha's got like still these big goals she needs to achieve. So she needs to be jotting stuff down a bit more than I do. Okay. So you've been doing it for so long that it's become almost like an automatic habit, I suppose. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I feel like I know all my numbers. Like I could tell you a workout I did midway through last week what my score was. Like I'm very good at hanging on to times and numbers and things like that because I've done it for so long. Yeah. Yeah. So, makes sense. Okay, before we talk about Nisha's big goal, which I want to talk about, I thought I would ask you the question, what exactly do you think motivation means? So what does motivation mean to you? You go first.
Being inspired to, being inspired or being passionate about something, I think. If you're inspired or you're passionate, you're going to tend to want to do the thing that you're trying to do.
Yeah.
If you're not, then how much effort are you going to put into it?
Yeah, exactly.
I think that for me, being inspired or being passionate about the objective.
Yeah.
Steph, same for you? Or slightly different?
When you said to us you were going to be doing this and you mentioned that it'd be about motivation, I obviously had a good think about motivation and what it means and why I'm motivated and things like that. And I found it a really hard thing to define. I think for obviously each person will come up with a different thing of what motivation means to them, and that can change over time as well. I know that sometimes I've been motivated by things that aren't sustainable, so motivated by being frustrated or motivated by people saying I couldn't do something, or motivated by wanting to prove people wrong, or things that are a bit kind of having a chip on your shoulder in some way or something like that. But I've also been motivated by being inspired from others. Sometimes haven't been motivated, but I've just done it anyway. I think it's a really, really complex kind of subject and kind of discussion. And I think that for most people, what they'll have to do at any given time if they want to achieve a task is sometimes be looking for motivation in different ways, like I've already kind of described, and sometimes also finding a way to do things when you don't have what you would automatically, class as motivation.
No, I get it. So, Nisha, we touched on this before. You have a pretty big goal of competing at regionals next year. So, first of all, what is the CrossFit regionals, so that the listeners know how big a thing we're talking about here?
So every year there is the CrossFit Games, where the top 40 fittest men and women. 50, is it 50? The top 50, the top 50 fittest men and women, and there's teams involved there in masters and different age groups, but they all go and compete, and it's usually the States for the title of the fittest on there. So it's always the States. But in order to get to that stage, you have to, basically everybody in every single CrossFit gym can compete in the CrossFit Games.
Not
Open.
Even in the garage?
Yeah, they don't even need to be part of a gym. They can be unaffiliated. They could go and do the workouts in their garage as long as they're videoed and judged. And that's a big online competition. And from that, the next stage is, as you say, regionals. It depends on what region you're in. The region that we're in, the top 20 go to regionals and meet the top 20 from Northern Europe. Is that right? Northern Europe?
Yeah.
Central Europe. So Central Europe and Northern Europe meet each other at regionals. So how many people competed in the Open this year? It must have been...
Oh, in the Open?
Yeah.
I would probably say something I don't know, 300, 400,000 somewhere.
Yeah, so you're talking a big number in each region, the top 20 get to go and compete at regionals for their chance of competing at the games, and from regionals the top 5 go. So you're talking about your
basically the number that make it to regionals are 0 point something of a percent of people that enter the competition at stage 1.
Yeah.
So it shows the kind of they're the pinnacle of the fittest, and those aren't even the people who qualify for the games.
Yeah.
It's only out of that less than 1% of people that started. Only from our region 5 games.
Yeah.
So it's a massive commitment. So what does a typical day look like for you at the moment when you're in training for this goal?
For me, just now, a typical day. I'll usually wake up about 4 so that I can eat a fairly big pre-workout meal, and then I give myself an hour for that to digest. I'll come in and do my first session, which I'll tend to make my lifting or strength session, just to get that stuff done first thing in the morning. And that's before, I try and get that done before the gym classes start. Being a coach in a CrossFit gym, regardless of whether you have big goals in your training or not, you're always seen as the coach. So when members come into the gym, like if they've got a question, they come and ask you. So it's hard to
you're midway through fucking France. What's this say in my book?
Sometimes it's really difficult. Sometimes it's really difficult to get your head into a session. If you know you might be called away for another commitment, especially when training can be like a full-time job at times. So I try and get my most mentally challenging session out of the way first thing in the morning. Typically the mornings that I'll do that, I won't be coaching the morning classes, so I'll go home, I'll have a nap for like an hour to 90 minutes. If I can, I'll do some meal prep. More recently I've been trying to do a little bit more stuff outside of the gym, so that I've got a bit of time that's just like where I'm not so in the gym all the time, because I think I worked out my hours a few months ago.
You can check it on your iPhone.
Yeah, I think I was in the gym.
Your iPhone basically thought you lived in the gym.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
It's like,
it has its
home now. Yeah, I think I was spending something in the region of 75 hours in the gym a week.
Wow.
And not all of those hours were working or training, so you just get in the habit of being here because you're either working or training, and then in between you kind of just end up chatting or stuff. So I tend to try and take a couple, like 2 to 3 hours out of the gym, then I'll come back, I'll do some work, programming for athletes, or doing nutrition work, or as simple as like cleaning and admin work just for the gym. Then I'll fit in another session. It's usually my cardio sessions or my WODs, workouts of the days. Take a short rest for some food, and then I'll usually do a weakness session. So for me, every year that's let me down in the Open is my gymnastics. So since the Open this year, I've spent a fair amount of time working on that weakness and dedicating specific skill sessions to it, and that's usually the last thing I do. And then I'll eat some more food, and I'll coach the evening classes, 5:30 and 6:30. I go home, I eat some more food, and then I go to my bed about 8:45, 9 o'clock, much to the dismay of my flatmate, I think. And that's me, alarm set to go off at like 10 to 4 o'clock the next morning.
Okay, and is that how many days a week?
Typically 5 days a week.
Yeah.
5 days a week. And then on Saturdays I sleep a bit longer, so like six full days of training. One of them's an active recovery day, and then I try and take 1 day rest.
Okay, so that's a pretty like big amount of training. How do you feel motivation wise? What, obviously you have that huge motivation behind you of qualifying for regionals this year, but when you break it down to like a day-to-day basis, are there days where you can't be arsed?
Yeah, of course there are.
Okay.
There's always days where you can't be arsed. I think that's the difference between. I think that's the difference between
60% of the time.
Everything. I think that's the difference between those athletes that tend to make it and the athletes that won't make it. When I'm feeling not so motivated, I'll still get my session done, and I think that's where I've changed a lot this year. If I look back at previous year's training diaries, if I wasn't feeling motivated, I'd probably go into a session, maybe half-ass it, probably wouldn't write anything in my book too much, like just write my time, whereas like now, if I'm unmotivated, I'll do my session. Maybe if it's a 4-time, I'll take away the 4-time element and I'll focus on moving well, and I'll put in my book, right, okay, I didn't have it in the head to go gung-ho today, but I focused on moving well in my cleans or my squats, and I'll try and take something away and take something positive, and look into changing that mindset for the next day.
Yeah, because I think a lot of the time when people are looking up to athletes like yourselves and perhaps other role models, when people have goals, is that they see the end product a lot of the time, and they think that people like yourselves are like constantly motivated. I know myself as being a member of the gym that members look up to you guys and don't see what goes on behind the scenes a lot of the time. They look up to people and see this end product and think, oh, they must be motivated all the time, they must be eating well all the time, they must be slamming their workouts all the time, but in reality, it's not really like that. What do you think
I would hope that, especially for our members in here, Steph and I are fairly honest people for the most part, apart from when we lie.
What's that for the most part? All the time.
Steph and I are fairly honest people, so I reckon if any of our members wanted to ask us a question about training or nutrition or motivation, like, we'll be pretty honest. I'm the kind of person that usually has a smile on their face, like, all the time. But I think our members, it is a bit creepy at times. I'm sure, but I've had days where I've been in and I've not had a smile on my face, and people have asked, like, are you okay? Is everything alright? And I'm pretty quick to be like, yeah, just a bit kind of meh today. And like those days happen for everybody. It's about how you come through them and like move up a level. And yeah.
So, Steph, you've competed at regionals how many times?
6.
6 times already.
Yeah, 6.
And so I guess that your training is similar to Nisha's, or what's a typical day look like for you?
My training is very similar to Nisha's, but actually involves a little bit less volume. Whether you view it as luck or what, I don't know. I came into this sport with like a good amount of strength, and at a time when the sport was quite new. So I came into it, the level matched me, if that makes sense, where I was at as an athlete. And I've kind of grown with the sport. So if I've had a weakness, that weakness has came up at the same level as the sport has improved. So I've just kind of kept up with the sport as it kind of evolves. The issue that like Nisha would have had is that she had that big weakness, and she's had to kind of like close ground. At the same, she's still doing a little bit of that. So her training actually is more. She does more than me basically.
Okay.
She has like probably a whole extra session in there on top of the amount that I do, because I don't have like a glaring weakness. And I need to be devoting like a whole session to. I just need to attack my sessions as they're written, give it a good amount of dedication, eat well, sleep well, all the normal stuff that you would expect. I'm basically kind of at the stage where I'm just kind of hanging in there. Yeah. There will become a point where the sport evolves at a rate that I can't keep up with, you know. But I'll always keep up the training, and I'll keep trying, because I say it's a big part of, always has been a big part of my life, and I think that will continue to be that way. So,
and when you're out on that competition floor at any competition, I suppose, including the regionals competition, what's going through your head, like on the day of a competition? Like what do you have a sort of ritual or routine to motivate yourself on that specific day that's maybe different from day-to-day training?
This is another one where...
Is this another weird one?
I'm probably I'm definitely an odd one out when I go to compete. So when I go to a competition, there tends to be, most of the other athletes will have like their own kind of personal coach. Often it's kind of like quite often you'll see it's a partner, boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever it is, or it'll be like someone that, that does their programming. I just follow a free online program, and there was times before that where I just programmed for myself. I've never had like a dedicated coach, so I don't have a coach there telling me what to do, and this is probably the reason why I've ended up this way a little bit. I don't really warm up too much before I go out. I've got in the habit of doing it that way, so to me that's kind of like my ritual. I don't want to overdo the warm up. I see a lot of people go through these kind of like really crazy, like drawn out routines, and for them obviously that must work, and that's why they do it. I'll kind of usually just kind of swing my legs about a wee bit and swing my arms and maybe do a couple of burpees or something like that, and then just go for it. And when I go out to compete, to be honest, usually what's kind of going through my head to begin with, as we're standing kind of lined up, it's normally just like, how the hell did I get here? Like, gosh, why am I still wearing joggies and everyone else is wearing shorts? What am I doing wrong? Something like that. It's usually something silly, or like, oh, whoops, I didn't go for a pee before this workout. But when I go out to actually do the workout, I really kind of zone in, and I think, and I just kind of, everything, literally is like, everything around you just kind of funnels in. You just get that kind of tunnel vision, and you couldn't tell somebody what music was playing during the workout. You couldn't tell somebody what was happening in the lane next to you. You're just really dialed into the task at hand. For me, that's kind of where my head's at when I go out there to compete. You're not really thinking, you're just zoned into the task at hand, basically.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to put a question to you now that is the number one asked question on all of my social media channels. And I'm just going to it's usually a bit more long-winded than this with people's previous histories and all that kind of thing. But here we go. I know what I want to achieve, but I just can't seem to get motivated. What advice would you give to me if I was to say that to you?
You went to go first, Nisha. You went first every time, so there you go. Do it. Come on.
You can be as frank and honest as possible.
Oh, that's good. I'm glad
are
you
you
that.
really that motivated? Like someone saying they want to, what was your question again? Someone saying they really want to do something, want to achieve something, but they just can't seem to
get motivated.
I think you just need to start. Regardless of how you're feeling, like my least favourite thing that people say when you ask them whether or not they want to come and try CrossFit is, oh yeah, but I'm going to go and get fit first before I start CrossFit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, no, you come to CrossFit to get fit. Like, we're here to help you. We're here to offer you support.
I'm going to learn how to drive before I start taking driving lessons.
Yeah.
What?
The reason we're here is to support you, and we should be able to, if we are good coaches, we should be able to scale for all ages, all abilities, and all injuries. And
make you feel like you want to do it once you get here.
Yeah, it should. I think one of the main things about what we do is the community aspect as well. So, once you come in the door, it's not just the coaches that keep you accountable. Like, all of a sudden you meet people that come to the same class every day and you start sending messages, and it's like, oh, are you doing the 6:15 tomorrow? Yeah, I am. Like, oh, I better see you there. And then all of a sudden you've got another person to be accountable for rather than just the coaches or yourself.
Yeah.
Like, that might be exactly where to start. Find someone that's going to hold you accountable.
Yeah.
I found that with my nutrition a lot. Another thing that I changed a lot this year was nutrition after the Open, and I know what I'm supposed to be doing when I eat. Steph tells me what the fuck I'm supposed to be doing when I eat. I know it, but it took for someone.
Nisha was convinced she couldn't get abs.
I was convinced I couldn't get abs.
It's my genetics. It's my genetics.
It was definitely.
I'm big bones.
I'm big bones.
Now she's got abs. So that was a lie.
Yeah, I got new jeans. I think the accountability is a big thing. So I eventually signed up to a nutritionist, and I'm obviously paying him money. If I'm paying him money, I need to see the benefit of that. Otherwise, I'm just throwing money away every month. And part of what I have to do for him is send him send nudes.
Snapchats.
I send him a progress picture every week, and I have to send him a breakdown of my nutrition for the week, so how far out I was on my macros, am I meeting my calories, the quality of the food I'm putting in my body. And by doing that for the last 18 to 20 weeks, I've seen a massive change in my aesthetics, a huge change in my performance, energy levels, gymnastics performance going up, weight numbers not changing, and body weight going down. So I think accountability is probably a big thing for me. If somebody's struggling to get themselves motivated, find somebody that can hold you accountable for it, be it a coach, a friend, a family member, a partner, whoever it is, and just make them be your accountability buddy. Yeah,
I think that's a great idea. What about you, Steph? So I imagine I've just rocked up to the gym and told you.
Good stuff.
I've just rocked up to the gym and told you that I want to lose some weight or I want to get fit as fuck, but I just can't seem to be motivated. What would you say to me?
Oh man, there's probably about maybe 5 different answers I could give somebody like that. So the friendly answer would be like, come on, yes you can do it, come on, just show up and we'll help you stay motivated, all that good stuff, and yeah. But there's another side of me that also goes the opposite end, and it's see if you're really, really not motivated to do something, maybe obviously fitness, it's maybe what people think of as fitness in their head isn't really what they need or want.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously you don't want to be rolling about the floor, 50 stone, can't get up on your feet, you know, you get like bed sores and people need to like lift your skin up to clean you.
Mm-hmm.
Right, we're not, like, that's not a good thing, that's illness, right?
Yeah.
But maybe if you get a wee bit of a belly or a bit of flag or a bit of cellulite or whatever, it's not the worst thing in the world to get down about. I think it's a lot to do with the way society is, especially since Instagrams came around.
Mm-hmm.
People think they really need to be something, and so that's what they're picturing in their head when they start, and they just see how far away they are from these Instagram models.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're not living their best life. I hate that saying, but it's just so. But really, they don't need that. But that's where they're thinking they need to get to.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so maybe the reason people are struggling with motivation is there's plenty of things I wouldn't be. I'm not motivated to knit.
No.
You know, I think knitting's quite boring, and maybe I would be started, I don't know. But I don't go in the direction towards things that I don't want to do, whereas fitness is very much shoved in your face in a lot of ways with people's bodies, these bodies that you see, and so people think that they need to, or that they should want to do those things, or that they should be motivated. But why should you be motivated to do something you really don't want to do?
Mm-hmm.
There's other side to it. You don't want to be ill, of course, but maybe you don't need to be going to a gym, and like maybe you just need to find something you like. Could just be walking. Could be getting enough steps a day. It could be just eating well enough and not sitting too much. That could be all the fitness you need in your day. Nisha's going to say something here.
Just what Steph's saying there made a really good point. Like I was speaking to a young girl. She's 8. I won't mention any names or anything. But we were having this discussion. Her parent wants her to do fitness and CrossFit and group exercise and stuff, and it's just not for her. Mm-hmm. So I kind of asked her, I was like, what is it you want to do? Like, the parent was like, you want to do swimming lessons, or you want to do this? And I think instantly you could kind of see she just didn't want to do group exercise. And I feel like there's maybe like a pressure on kids to do like group things, PE, like classes, gymnastics. Mm-hmm. So from that, I suggested that she take 1-to-1 swimming lessons with an adult that she was familiar with, that she was happy to have that she would have fun with, basically. Mm-hmm. And then her face lit up and she was like, I would like to go swimming with that person, I would like to do that. And I was like, well, there's an option. You could go swimming with somebody that you enjoy going swimming with. Or her parent was going to get her a bike and she was like, I don't know, for 1 second. I was like, what if I ran alongside you and you cycled and I ran? And she was like, yeah, I'd like to do that. So I think it's about making things, like Steph's saying, like fun for you, or like that motivates you. It doesn't need to be you must go to the gym and do this many meters on the treadmill or rower, or you must join in a CrossFit class. You have to look this way or you're not fit. Like, it needs to be what works for an individual.
Yeah, I would agree with that, because I see a lot of people sort of striving towards goals that are not even their goals. Like they've got this idea in their head of what they should look like or do.
The first thing people put on a goals list, like when they're writing down fitness goals, is like, I want to run a marathon. Mm-hmm. I've never wanted to run a marathon in my fucking life.
Me neither.
I'm certain I put it down on a sheet before, because I was like, everybody that does fitness runs a marathon.
Yeah.
I hate running. There's no danger I want to run a marathon ever. I don't put that down, but it's just that standard go-to answer, right? Yeah. But what you expect, people expect.
Yes,
that
this is the image of what fitness is like. Yeah, definitely. That's the part where people get messed up straight off the bat, is the picture of what they think they're trying to do. They don't really know what they actually want to do.
Mm-hmm. So knowing what you want to do and why you want to do it, for you, would you say...
What's your why?
Yeah.
What's your why? Why do you want to do it?
Yeah, definitely.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And, so we're going to wrap this up, because we've been going for a wee while. But just before we do, I'm going to ask you a question. I want you to tell me one weird fact about yourself.
Oh man, everything. My existence.
Yeah, Steph and I are pretty weird people.
Weird Wednesdays.
To the point where we have a Weird Wednesday segment on our Fortius members page. You have to be a member to see it though. So
give us money.
I know, so give us money. We'll show you our weirdness. a weird fact. Have you got anything in particular?
Oh man, probably loads of things, I don't know.
I put you too much on the spot.
I'm just pretty weird. I'm pretty socially awkward, believe it or not. Yeah. You've made us be weird now.
I know, that was the plan.
Sometimes Steph and I speak to each other in different voices.
Yeah.
And people
think it's dead children in the gym.
Oh, are you gonna give us an example of this, or do we just need to imagine it?
That's far too weird. We make up words to speak to each other, and one time one of our members heard us talk the way we talk to each other sometimes, and they were like, "Is that you guys that speak like that?" And we were like, "Yeah, why?" And she was like, "I've been hearing those noises for about 3 weeks. I have no idea where they're coming from."
Oh my god.
Sums us up a bit.
Yeah, I would say so. So if anyone wants to find out more about what you guys do at CrossFit Fortius and Cambuslang, where can they find you? What's the best way to go about it?
Probably our Facebook page, Fortius Scotland. That's where we tend to put most of our stuff.
Yeah.
Things and stuff. And if you want to ask any questions, just message us. We try and answer as quick as possible. I'm pretty sure we've got a within 1 hour response rate. Boom!
Yes. Brilliant.
And we've also got an Instagram page. We're not great at the social media.
Nah.
Like, we're good for maybe
a couple of weeks.
A week or two, and then we get.
You better just come in and get the live show.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're much better live. So.
I will make sure I'll link the Facebook page and everything in the show notes of the podcast. So if anyone is listening that wants to try CrossFit or even just wants to get in touch with Steph and Nisha for a bit of motivation, then they'll be able to find you there. But thank you so much to both of you for your time. I really appreciate it a lot. So a huge thank you to both Nisha and Steph from CrossFit Fortius Cambuslang in Glasgow for that brilliant conversation that we had surrounding motivation. I hope you found something useful in that interview. I'm sure you have. If you weren't feeling motivated before you listened, I'm sure you feel motivated now. And if you are looking for some more inspiration and motivation, then I have some great news for you, because the Ditch the Diet Academy is opening its doors at the beginning of September, and we have just launched a waiting list. So if you would like to learn how to quit yo-yo dieting and learn from myself and all of the courses that we run here at Walk the Talk Life, then now is the time to get excited about the Academy opening in just a few weeks' time. So we have a waiting list. I'm going to put a link in the description or a link in the show notes of the podcast that you're listening to right now, where you can go to find out more about the Ditch the Diet Academy, where you can find motivation, inspiration and accountability for all of the goals that you have. So just click on that link, enter your details in the little boxes that it asks you to fill out, your name and your email address being the important ones, and I will send you more information straight to your inbox. Also, if you've enjoyed today's episode, I would ask you to do a couple of things for me. Please subscribe to the podcast wherever you're listening, whether that's iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, on the internet. Please subscribe to the podcast, and if you did enjoy today's episode, remember there are 35 previous episodes. Please share this episode on social media with anyone that you feel could benefit from it. And also, if you would like to get in touch with either Steph or Nisha or both, then you can do via Facebook. Just look for Fortius Scotland. I'll also link their website in the show notes as well. If you would like to speak to them about perhaps starting CrossFit, or even if you just need a little bit more information, then I'm sure they'll be more than happy to help you. Thank you very much for listening again. I'll be back next week with another episode of the Ditch the Diet podcast. Until then, enjoy the rest of your week, and I'll see you next time.